This video is for you if you don't know what is meant by the terms collective defence, collective security, and a security community, or if you're unsure about the differences between them. I'm trying out these videos as a way of promoting my blog, so please do have a look at it. The link's in the description. These short videos are designed to accompany specific blog posts. I've noticed that my readers don't always understand the terms that I use, which alerts me to the fact that I need to better explain my ideas and more clearly and to avoid jargon. I recently wrote a blog post reviewing a new book on NATO. In my review, I discuss NATO with reference to collective defence, collective security, and I also mention security communities. I don't use these terms interchangeably, so what do I mean by each of them and how do they differ from each other? Collective defence is where a group of states has an agreement about responding together to threats coming from outside the group itself. The most famous clause in NATO's treaty, Article 5, is a collective defence clause. It says, the parties agree that an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all, and consequently they agree that each of them, in exercise of the right of individual or collective self-defence, will assist the party or parties so attacked. Collective security, on the other hand, is where a group of states has an agreement about responding together to threats coming from within the group itself. It's about governing relations and maintaining peace among the members of the group. If we take the League of Nations, formed at the end of the First World War, it sought to establish a collective security system. Article 16 of its treaty said, should any member of the League resort to war in disregard of its covenants, it shall ipso facto be deemed to have committed an act of war against all other members of the League, which hereby undertake to, and it goes on to stipulate how other members will respond collectively towards the member that has resorted to war. And that's it. Simple, really. Collective defence deals with threats external to a group of states. Collective security deals with threats internal to a group of states. In the blog post, I also refer to security communities, which is something different again. I actually think in the book I was reviewing, these terms aren't really distinguished, but it's worth drawing a distinction. The idea of a security community emerged in the context of the Euro-Atlantic area after the Second World War. Specifically, it was coined by the scholar Karl Deutsch in the 1950s. He referred to the idea that members of the Euro-Atlantic area had no expectation that any of them would resort to war to settle a dispute with each other. Today, for example, the British and the French don't have up-to-date war plans for the event of an armed conflict against each other because they think it all but inconceivable that they will have to fight a war. If you think about it, given how many wars the French and English have fought throughout their history, this is a pretty terrific accomplishment. So how is collective security different from a security community? Like collective security, a security community refers to dealing with threats internal to the grouping. It's not about external threats. Unlike collective security, though, it doesn't function because its members have agreed to coerce a belligerent member so as to bring it into line. Instead, a security community functions because of shared understandings and a high level of trust among the members of the community. There's a belief that they won't need to be prepared to coerce one another. This is the sense in which they form a community, something more tightly knit than a mere treaty arrangement. We hear a lot about NATO's Article 5, the Three Musketeers Clause, all for one and one for all. This sits in a broader debate about the nature of NATO, and the book I was reviewing gets to the nub of this debate. Does NATO boil down to that one article, the Collective Defence Clause article, or is it about collective security, or is it even forming a security community? So now we've clarified these terms, at least as I understand and I use them, why not take a look at my blog post, linked to in the description. Please do also consider buying a copy of my book. Alternatively, you can buy me a coffee.